the Redeemer, and the Sanctifier. Amen. Good morning, Christ Church.
Good morning.
How are you today? I feel so far from you. It is a joy to be with you today, and I want to express my gratitude to your rector, the Reverend Maria McDowell, and I pray that she's having a wonderful time wherever she is right now. I also want to say a very special thank you to one I just met, but one I love dearly, Reverend Donna. You have been so caring, and I thank you. But I know I'm not telling you anything that's new. You know, even arriving yesterday, I got a little note from her. She just wanted to know if I had arrived safely and if I'm all right. And that means a lot. You know, when you come into a strange place and you don't have a home or anything, you have a hotel room. Well, that's nice. And somebody cares. Thank you. I want to thank you also for having me here today. I certainly don't look like your rector. And I know you love her and you miss her, but you're stuck with me today. I'm here today to say thank you for the partnership that we've had for the past 24 years. The first time that Food for the Poor came to you was in 2001. And then the second time was 12 years ago. It's been a while, so we are overdue a visit. I want to share with you some of the things that you have been participating in, and I hope you'll feel good because we have done some good things together. But before I go into the details, I'd like to reflect for a moment on the gospel for today. Some persons see the gospel today as saying that the contemplative life is the way to go. The gospel for today is not denying the contemplative life, but it's also not denying the life that is involved in the community. Because if that's the case, then the deacon would have no place. Because the deacon's role is really to go into the community, see the needs of the community, and bring those needs back to the congregation so the congregation can respond. I wonder if that's what's happening. Yes? Okay. Did I get that right? Thank you. I like to be affirmed. You know, talking about affirmation, there's a book called The Blessing, and it says that all of us from birth want to be affirmed, first by our parents and then by the wider circle, your friends, and then it gets to the teachers and the pastors and so on. And even now people do things for affirmation. Nothing is wrong with that. But back to the gospel, we see Jesus and his disciples wandering. They're always traveling, moving around. And this day, Martha welcomes Jesus into her home. Well, it's not her home alone because, you know, she has a sister Mary. And I think many of us know from other readings that they had a brother called Lazarus, yes? Yeah. So, and you know that if you're going to have Jesus in, you better have his disciples too. So you're talking about lots of people, 12, 13, more. And sometimes there are people even standing at the window looking in because wherever Jesus was, there was a crowd. People seemed to follow him. And it's interesting what Martha did. Jesus, please tell Mary to come and help me. Can you imagine you have a guest in your house and you're telling the guest to talk to your sibling? Come, Jesus, tell Mary to come and help me. They must have had a good relationship for her to say that. They were close. But I'm going to pause and tell you a story, and this is a true story. My last parish was in Brooklyn, New York. I was there for 17 years. And one day I was driving, and I noticed a car was swerving into my lane, and you know that can be disturbing, yeah. To put it mildly. Sorry. I'm dealing with an internal issue here. And as we approached the light where we had to stop, I noticed the driver of that car was a woman. Don't judge me yet. I'm not saying that women are. I would not do that in a church like this. But in her left hand, she had a cup of something that was obviously hot, more than likely coffee. In her right hand, she had a brush doing her makeup. And she was gazing up into the rearview mirror. So she had moved the mirror so that she could see herself. Now, the word that I would use for that is distracting, wouldn't you? Distracting. It is good to drink something that's hot, but not while you're driving with the other hand occupied. And it's good to do the makeup things, you know. I don't do it. But some people do. But not in the car, not when you're driving the car. And I think Jesus was saying this, some things are distracting. I'm going to read a passage from a lady, Elizabeth Johnson. She's a pastor, and she wrote this. The problem with Martha is not that she was busy serving and providing hospitality. Certainly, Jesus commends this kind of service to the neighbor many times, notably in the parable of the Good Samaritan that immediately precedes the story of Mary and Martha. The problem with Martha is not her serving, but rather that she is worried and distracted. She was worried and distracted. And the Greek word that was used for distracted suggests the idea of being pulled and dragged in different directions. And if you have children or grandchildren, I think you have an idea of what I'm talking about. Or some of us have spouses that drag us in different directions. I'm not saying that you do. And I know that in churches, sometimes one of the things I do not miss, I'm retired from active parish ministry, and one thing I do not miss is parish administration. Because parish administration can sometimes, let me think of how I can say this nicely. It can really lead you away from Jesus if you're not careful. I've been in my office, and I remember one day a lady made an appointment with my secretary and came in to say to me, I think that my choir director does not like me. I'm telling you, that's true. And you'd be surprised to know the kinds of things that are distracting in ministry. And Jesus was saying to Martha, be careful that the things that you're supposed to do in the terms of hospitality do not distract you from what you're supposed to be in relationship with me and with your sister. I tend to wave my hands around a lot while I'm preaching, and sometimes I knock the microphone from my ears. Martha's distraction and worry leave no room for the most important aspect of hospitality, gracious attention to the guest. In fact, she breaks all the rules of hospitality by trying to embarrass her sister in front of her guest and by asking her guest to intervene in a family dispute. She even goes so far as to accuse Jesus of not caring about her. Martha's worry and distraction prevent her from being truly present with Jesus, and cause her to drive a wedge between her sister and herself, and between Jesus and herself. She has missed out on the one thing needed for true hospitality. There is no greater hospitality than listening to your guest. How much more so when the guest is Jesus? So Jesus says that Mary has chosen the better part, which will not be taken away from her. Being a Christian is not always the easiest thing. And anybody who tells you that it's easy to be a Christian has not fully matured into the responsibility of Christianity. One of the things that we try to do in Food for the Poor is to be conscious of the fact that we always have to be sitting at the feet of Jesus to get the instructions to go out into the world. At the end of the Mass today, the deacon is going to send us out into the world after receiving the body and the blood of Christ, after hearing the word, after meeting one another and giving the peace, after being energized. We're going to be sent out to do and to be. It's not enough to sit and listen. It's important, but there comes a time when we have to move. I have a friend, wonderful friend. She's just finished her doctorate degree, and she's beginning to do another one. And I said to her, isn't it time for you to share some of what you have learned with other people rather than to be always in school? She said, well, she believes she's a perpetual student. And I'm not judging her, but I'm just saying that there comes a time when we're called to step out and to be and to do. Food for the Poor has sought over the past 43 years to be involved in the world. And it's a charity based on the life of Jesus Christ. We listen to Christ and we get active. We are involved in 15 Caribbean and Central American countries, and our aim is to empower. You can still hear me, right? Because this thing is really, yeah. My ears are very large, and this thing keeps falling off. Our aim is to empower families to become self-sustaining through activities like fishing, farming co-ops, and other opportunities. I'm going to give you an example of what we do and how we're able to make the money that you contribute stretch and stretch. I want you to picture, in some communities, we'll give 2 fishing boats and outboard motors. And if you go to our website, Food for the Poor, you will see our boats. Some of them are painted yellow with blue writing and so on the boats. Now, you give $100 or whatever you give, and it goes towards buying the boat and buying the motor. We also provide solar power for those areas that do not have electricity. Now, the team, usually we have fishermen who go out and fish, right? Men, M-E-N. So one of the things we do, we make sure that teams go out to fish. And the teams must be made up of at least 1 man, 1 woman, and 1 young person, because it has to be shared and passed on. When they come in with their catch of fish, the first 10% must be given away to those who cannot afford to buy the fish. Do you see how your $100 is spreading? Then it spreads even more when we teach them how to market the fish. It spreads even more when we teach them how to do bookkeeping, how to manage their books. It spreads even more when we teach them how to reinvest some of the funds into the project and bring others in. In one community in Honduras, for example, they've gone not just from fishing alone, there's now a bakery where there's a group of women. Now it's just the women who are doing the bakery. And they now are doing the bakery near to an industrial complex. And we took them into the complex, introduced them to the people in the complex, and now they do not have enough hands to supply to that complex. We built a metal workshop. In another community, the government of Honduras mandated that all truck drivers, all trailer drivers must be certified. But there was only one driving school in all of Central America, and it was not in Honduras. So Saputo, which is a group in Honduras with which we work, Food for the Poor, partners with them, asked us if we could help them to set up the school. So we said yes. So we got a site, we put up some buildings, and we leased a truck. But the big expense was the simulator, because they have to learn to drive on a simulator before they put them into the actual truck. The simulator cost $100,000. Well, we spoke to some funders, and they came up with the $100,000, and so we gave them the simulator. Now people are coming in from all over that area to learn how to drive. But listen to this part that is exciting. Saputo and others now go into destitute communities and recruit young people, men and women, take them to the school, teach them how to drive the trucks. And some people travel 4, 5, 6 hours one way to school and the same 4, 5, 6 hours back home every day. But on graduation, they can get a job that pays them $15,000 per year. And these are people who were sleeping on the dirt. Now suddenly they are lifted out of that context because of what you have participated in, because you gave your $100. So I'm here today to share those stories with you and to tell you thanks, because many times you give to charities and you never really know what is happening with those funds. And I keep asking you to go back to look at foodforthepoor.com, and you will see the activities online for yourself. We believe in education because education is a key to breaking the cycle of poverty. So we build schools, and every year we send educational materials to these countries. We believe in healthcare. In one community in Haiti, all the people in the community had diarrhea and did not know it. One of the elders said, after we showed them how to use tablets to purify the water and how to boil the contaminated water that they collected, the elder said, we thought that's how everybody lived. We didn't know that we were sick. And it's one thing to be sick and know it. It's another thing to be sick and not know it. So again, because of your gifts, you have saved lives. Children are the ones, girls, not just children, girls are the ones who normally go to carry water. And they go before the sun comes up in the morning, and they walk 3 miles to get the water, and then up the hill another 3 miles. And unfortunately, many of them are molested by unscrupulous men. But we have been putting in wells, and that has been able to save these girls. And they've been able to go to school and become persons in their own right. My brothers and sisters, I want to thank you for what you have been doing, and I'm not going to bore you with a lot of details at this point. I just want to share with you a few other facts, and then I will go back and continue the Eucharist. Food for the poor is a misnomer. We started off by doing food alone. In 2019, we did 400 million meals in 1 year. And in the 40 years that we've been in existence, 43 years, we've built 99,500 homes. So we do houses also. And these houses are 2 bedrooms, living room, kitchen, bathroom facilities, and again with solar power. And what we found in the past is that people were sleeping on the dirt, and once we put them into these homes, they would sleep on the cement. So what we now do is to give them a bed, a table, and 2 chairs, 2 chickens and a rooster, and sometimes a goat or a pig. And we teach them how not to eat these animals, but how to make them multiply. So it becomes sustaining, because we do believe that if you keep giving people stuff over time, you will keep them alive, but you will not always restore their dignity. They'll always be dependent on you. So we try to move them from dependency to independence, or codependence, because they work with one another. So brothers and sisters, I want to ask you, you have a folder, each person has one of these. I'm asking if you'd be kind enough to take them out. Let me show you how to use them. Did the choir get? No? We have quite a few in the back. Would somebody be kind enough to give some to the choir, please? There's a yellow line, and I'm going to ask you, the line that goes up against the pictures, if you'll just tear against that line, this becomes a self-mailer. And there's a flap on the outside. If you just tear this off, you can write here your information, and we never ever share or exchange information with any other group or charity. Never. So whatever you write here is confidential. There's a section here for prayers. If you have a prayer request, I ask you to put it there, and it will be honored. And you fold this and put it into this envelope and seal it. And with the permission of Reverend Donna, you can put it in the plate, and I'll get it after, or you can give it to me at the end of the service. If you give it to me, it means that you do not have to mail it, because when you mail it, the cost of the postage stamp can feed a child for almost 1 week. So if I take it in, not only are you giving a gift inside, you're also feeding a child for almost 1 week. So $34 will feed a child for 1 week. For 1 month. $34 will feed a child for 1 month. And if you look in the brochure, there'll be other opportunities of ways that you can help. A house costs $9,800. And we normally ask persons to give a gift of $4,800 because we have $4,900. We have donors who will match that gift. So whatever you give is acceptable and appreciated. Brothers and sisters, I'm not going to take up much more of your time, just to say thank you, thank you, thank you. And I pray that you will continue to be blessed, even as you accept me into your community and as you continue to serve God locally and internationally. Blessings upon you. Amen.